Would you please rise and join me in the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
That's you. Okay. All right. Let's get going here. All right. Roll call. Haynes.
Here.
Fuller.
Here.
Abbott. Heaton.
Here.
Bender.
Here. The Danby Select Board and Planning Commission meetings are open to the public in person and remotely, but are not public meetings per se. Public attendees, both in person and remote participants, who wish to comment on agenda items will be given an opportunity at the beginning of each meeting to do so. As in the past, written communications may also be sent to the boards for consideration. Business is conducted and votes are cast only by board members. The chat feature is to be used by remote participants to alert the host to technical difficulties. It is not for private conversations. To maintain order as well as the efficiency of the meeting, the rules for public participation are: remote attendees will be muted by the online host upon joining the meeting, remaining so unless recognized to speak. Participants should arrive on time and state their name for the record. And by the way, we have a sign-up sheet there for our live members to put their names on, so Matt gets them accurately recorded. Those who desire to speak in order to comment or question should use the hand-raising function and will be recognized in the order in which the hands were raised. Remote participants, when recognized, will unmute and clearly identify themselves by first and last name and the area of town in which you reside. Comments and questions are limited to 2 to 3 minutes. Anyone who desires to speak longer than that should arrange to be placed on the agenda beforehand and appear in person at the meeting unless extenuating circumstances happen and the board is contacted. General rules are that speakers will not be interrupted. There will be no crosstalk between members of the audience. The speaker will treat the proceedings and other speakers with dignity and respect, addressing the issue and not personalities. If something is overlooked and needs to be discussed under new business, the floor will be reopened for public comment on that item. So next, I will entertain a motion to set the agenda.
I guess the only thing I think, just to clarify on the bottom of discuss Timoth Road bridge repair, it's just to discuss their bridge repair. There's no bids.
Yes, we're going to take out bids. We're also going to add trailer purchase under your report.
Yes.
And on the fleet permits, I have 2 more to add. One is camp, precast concrete. The other is Driscoll Brothers Excavating. Anything else?
We need to have an executive session to discuss personnel.
What is that? What personnel?
Did you want to do the new one, or let's do it for a minute? Yeah.
Is this hiring?
This is an executive session
Well, I need to know,
for personnel reasons.
well, what personnel are we talking about?
Multiple.
And we've
Yeah, let's do
never listed what personnel we were
Well,
talking about before.
You're losing me here, because is it personnel or is it in regard to this?
No, it's not in regard to that.
No, it's, I think Steve and I want to bring to the board some stuff, so, under personnel.
Okay, so employees
Yes.
that
Under
you
employees.
supervise, okay? And where would you like to do that? Under your road commissioner's report?
That's fine, we can do it just before.
Okay, so after the conflict of interest policy, you want executive session for personnel. Okay. Anything else?
I was just gonna make a brief comment about the select board meetup that I went to yesterday in Castleton, if there's time. I attended
Oh, yeah.
that
Yeah,
yesterday.
no, I'd like to hear on
That
that.
would be good under new business.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay. So does everybody understand that? Under new business, there'll be a report from Greg about the select board meetup. Various select boards. Anything else? Okay, a motion then to adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Say aye.
Aye.
Who seconded?
I did.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll go to public comment. Oh, and by the way, I didn't ask you who is participating remotely.
Oh, thank you. We have Gary Deere, Chris Hardaway, Terry Parker, Andrea, Anita Smith, Janice, Beth Thompson, and Bill Richardson.
Okay, thank you. Public comment. Do we have any comment from our live audience?
Today's the 10th. Today's the 10th.
Well, my golly goodness, thank you for being so astute.
Wish you're so up to date with it, I was surprised to see that.
Yeah, there we go. Back in business. If all our problems were that easy, it would be a cakewalk on the beach. Anything else from our live audience? Do we have hands raised?
I actually have an item. So I'm returning a check to the town.
Okay.
I had been paid twice for a week after a check was bounced. I suggest we start auditing payroll as well, if we don't already, because that was an error.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? It was returned and it was a replacement check, but then you gave me another timesheet for another,
So
so you should have had 2 checks total.
I should have had 3 total. One for the meeting, the select board meeting last month. The second was for the special meeting, and then the transfer station. So after my first check bounced,
Yes, that's the
And
one where
then-
everything,
a bunch of checks bounced.
yeah.
Mine was one of them. When you reissued that check, you reissued 2 checks for 2 meetings worth of time versus
And I
just,
must have misunderstood your timesheet. Because Lana and I went through them today, and there's a timesheet for every check issued.
so each week that I work, I should be paid one sum of $75.
Correct.
And I was given 2 checks for $150 apiece.
Okay, let me pull so I can
So
see.
that needs to be fixed, and I just suggest
And
auditing should be something that's done more carefully. So if you can please cancel that check.
Would
And
you pass that over to Michelle, please?
I'm pulling.
I'm just concerned that similar mistakes might be made, so anything that can be done to help would be.
That whole week with that was a giant stress, but I'll
Understood.
pull and yes.
Do we have anyone else virtually that would like to speak?
I do not see anyone, hold on, I have a hand up. Okay. I can't see who has their hand up. We have Gary has his hand up. Gary, do you want to speak? Gary? Yeah, I can't hear anything either. And we had Chris Hardaway had their hand up as well, but they took it down. So we still have Gary with his hand up, but as far as I can tell, he's not speaking. Yeah, now I have Anita Smith has her hand up. Do you want to speak?
Okay, it sounds like you're having a technical difficulty there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do not know why. Hold on one second. Let me switch. Okay, let's try that. Okay. That may have been my fault. Definitely. So let's try Anita Smith.
Beth was first. Beth, can you speak and see if they can hear you?
Okay, fair enough. Beth Thompson.
Can you hear me?
Very well.
Oh, we can. Yes, thank you.
I'm wondering why there is no video.
Because we have PEG TV and you can watch that if you'd like to see video.
Well, but PEG TV comes after the fact, and I think there's a lot to be gleaned from seeing the video because you can tell more what people are saying and understand more clearly if you can see them speaking at the same time that you're hearing them speak.
I believe PEG TV is broadcast live, isn't it?
No, it is not.
Well, that's news to me because people say, oh, I watched it at home. And
Well, that's the next day.
well, anyway, that's how it is.
Well, what do you mean that's how it is? We petitioned a couple of years ago to have an audio video remote access to these meetings, and we had that. I brought it for almost 2.5 years, I think, with no pay, and we had video and audio, and there's no reason why we shouldn't have it now. Do we have to raise another petition to get what we asked for initially that the town overwhelmingly voted for? And yeah, I'm a little irritated by this because I did provide that service, and then I was summarily thanked and goodbye, we don't need you anymore. So nobody ever offered me a paycheck. No one ever offered me the job of doing it. Having a little pittance of a thank you from you personally, Brad, on an email was not really what I would expect from the select board for a citizen who volunteered to do something for that long, faithfully. There should have been some mention at a select board meeting to thank me. That's beside the point. The town asked for Zoom, video, audio, access to these meetings. I'll turn it over to somebody else. I am irritated, you can hear it.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Gary.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was all my fault.
No, I hear it. Just want to double check.
Yep.
I want to ask a question and also make a comment. My first question has to do with the two items on the agenda related to the Code of Ethics and the Conflict of Interest Policy. And Brad, will members of the public be able to make comments at the time you act on them? Because neither of the documents were available in advance of the meeting. They're not available on the web, or were not contained as part of the material distributed for the meeting. So it's kind of difficult for members of the public to comment on it without having ever seen it?
So what we are having tonight is a first reading of what is basically a boilerplate policy provided by Vermont League of Cities and Towns. And following the first reading, if there are comments that you wish to send to the board, that would be considered before we would act on finally adopting it at a future meeting.
But in fairness, the agenda says you're adopting a new conflict of interest policy.
Now it says first reading of proposed Code of Ethics, Investigation, and Enforcement Ordinance.
Correct. And the next item is motion to adopt new conflict of interest policy.
Right here,
Either of those are available.
which I believe you just have to post that one.
Yeah, I think
You're
that's right.
not supposed to adopt it, you just have to post it by the state law. Sorry, did you hear that, Gary? It's Greg. So, I should have caught them. The motion to adopt the new conflict of interest, you actually don't have to adopt it, you have to post it by the state.
So then you won't be acting to adopt the policy, you'll just be posting it?
The conflict of interest policy has to be posted because it replaces the existing town one. And then you have the other, the ethics investigation and enforcement ordinance that Brad has on the agenda for the first reading.
Well, I'll go back to my original question, Brad. Will people be able to make a comment when you discuss those two?
Do you folks wish to open the floor to public comment at that time?
Gary, what is your concern in there that you're not going to know about now? This is Tom.
So I think, Tom, thank you. It goes to, you're reading a proposed ordinance that no one has had a chance to see in advance of this meeting, so we can't make a public comment on it. And then you're posting a conflict of interest or a code of ethics policy that we haven't seen either. And I don't know who it was who was talking that said it's one that the state has that you just have to adopt. And as I said at the last meeting, that is my understanding correctly too, but again, you don't have a copy of that, or that's not available.
I mean, I guess I have no problem. If, Gary, if you feel there's something pertinent in there, I mean, I think we can, as long as we don't make another meeting out of the meeting, if you could.
That's fine, Tom. I'm comfortable with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. All right. And the second, I would like to make a comment, and I would like to echo what Beth said. I think that having access to live video of the select board meeting is important. It's a way for members that join remotely to be engaged and to see the exchange and to actually see who's speaking. Because while I know certain voices, I don't know all voices. I don't know people in the audience that were just talking about the most recent issue. So having the ability to see the video of the meeting live, not PEG TV, which is posted several days later, but to be able to see the meeting live, I think is important. And the town expressed an interest and a desire for that. And I would ask that the board, select board, all members, reconsider that decision to no longer make a video available. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Is there anyone else?
Yes, this is Annette Smith. I guess my first question is probably for Steve. I don't know if he's there.
He is.
When are you planning to grade the Baker Brook Road, Scottsville Road?
When we get to it, right now we're working on the mountain. We've already done Baker Brook once this spring, so we're trying to get to roads that we haven't done so far.
Thank you. I just want you to be aware that it has some real vehicle killer potholes on it. And while I do appreciate that it slows people down and actually reduces the volume of traffic, I don't like having my car abused, and it's really hard just to drive the half mile out to the Tinmouth Road. I can't imagine what it's like for people who are commuting, and there are a lot of people who commute on this road down to like Vermont store fixtures, and so I know you've got a lot of roads to cover, and I appreciate the good work you do. I just wanted to make sure you were aware that I asked my husband how it was, because he went out today down to Route 7 and he said horrible. So while, yeah, you can drive it at 5 to 10 miles an hour and not ruin your car, most people don't do that. My next question is, does anyone on the select board have anything that they're going to bring up under new business or old business that hasn't been mentioned?
No, I mean, you heard us reset the agenda, right, Annette? There was Greg Heaton.
You always do that now, but sometimes things come up, so I'm just going to ask you at every meeting now. I will echo what Beth and Gary have said about it is really hard to follow these meetings without video, and usually I watch these meetings on a computer that got hit by lightning, and it has no sound, and so I couldn't speak either. But I turn the captions on and I watch, and so I can't do that now because I can't follow what's going on. It's really impossible. And I mean, if I could come down with a cell phone and I could live stream it on Facebook for people. Anybody can do that. This is silly. Please turn the video on. We're not doing anything obstructionist about it, by allowing video access. So now I just have to think for a moment and look at the agenda, because this is my only chance to speak, and see if I think there was something else I wanted to ask about. Yes, whoever said that they were going to report on the Regional Planning Commission Select Board meetup, I want to thank you for going to that. I understand there were 2 of them and nobody from Danby attended the first one. So I hope that you will continue to attend these, that the Regional Planning Commission is trying to do a good job, and I really am looking forward to hearing your report on it. Thank you for doing that, whoever it was who went.
That's Greg Heaton.
Thank you, Greg. I did ask Devin Neary if anyone attended the first one from Danby, and he said no. I was sorry to hear about that. You have on the agenda to motion to appoint alternates to the Regional Planning Commission and the Transportation Advisory Commission. Do you have applications for those?
We do. Well, at least one of them. Did you get?
You're just picking one person. You didn't put a note out that you were seeking people to apply?
Well, if you followed the last meeting, we asked the Planning Commission to give a recommendation, and at their meeting last week, they gave a recommendation of David Powers, and that's what I expect we will be acting on this evening.
I was interested in learning the process. So will David be doing both of those jobs?
He accepted the Rutland Regional Planning Commission.
He would be the alternate to the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, and Drea Stoddard would be the regular rep.
And who's going to be the rep to the TAC?
Pardon me?
Who's going to be the representative to the Transportation Advisory Commission?
Well, Quint Pierce was nominated.
But we don't have an alternate for him.
Yeah.
But you do have someone who's doing that.
We do.
For a while, Danby's person didn't attend, and I didn't have an alternate for a dozen years when I was regional commissioner. So I'm very glad to hear that you're going to have an alternate, because it's really important to attend these meetings. The regional planning commissions are all moving at a very rapid rate on mapping, and I attended a meeting of the Land Use Review Board very recently, and saw a presentation of what was going on, and I'm interested to know if the town of Danby has been asked to host a meeting, or how we are going to be engaged in that mapping process, which is moving at a really fast rate at every regional planning commission.
I have not heard from the Planning Commission about that.
I think you go ahead. You were.
This is Greg speaking, not to get too far ahead, but part of the thing last night was discussing briefly that we were going to cover it in bigger details and at a time. My understanding is the Rutland Regional is supposed to contact the select boards to start discussing that process. There's some training next week for Act 181, but for the maps, they're supposed to be reaching out to the select boards to begin that process. That's one of the things they discussed last night.
So that hasn't happened yet.
No.
No, not that I'm aware
And
of.
I want to point out that what just happened is the sort of thing that's very, very hard to follow. It's hard to know who's talking. If I could have seen Greg, I would have known who was talking and followed it, but I don't know where he's sitting in relation to the microphone, but he's not coming in very loud. So having a visual aspect to this meeting is really important if you expect anybody who's participating this way to understand what's going on.
Greg, can
I
you
think
move
that's
your...
all my comments, and thank you for hearing me. I appreciate it.
Okay, is there anyone else?
No, no one else has their hands up.
Okay, then we'll close the public comment portion, and I'll entertain a motion to adopt the...
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Lauren Dever. I had trouble last month too, where I couldn't get through to anyone. I just certainly want to add in that it's very difficult not to have a video. That was the comment I tried to make last month too. That in order to participate, we have to have video, so.
No.
Just saying that. Thanks.
Okay, the public portion is closed, and I will entertain a motion to adopt the minutes of the select board meetings of March 13th, 2025 and March 20th, 2025 and March 25th, 2025.
I'll make the motion that we adopt them.
Okay, motion by Haines. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And Fuller seconds. Any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting those three sets of minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next, I will entertain a motion to appoint Hilda Haines to fill Hiram Fisk's position as a conferee to the overseer of the poor to assist the overseer in the distribution of income from the Gary Harrington Fund under the terms of the Harrington will pursuant to the requirements of the May 14th, 1997 Rutland Probate Court Order.
I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Fuller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Heaton. Is there any discussion? Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Sorry.
Would you call the roll, please?
Haines,
Abstain.
Bowler,
Yes.
Bender,
Yes.
Abbott, and Heaton.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, I will entertain a motion to appoint an auditor to serve until town meeting 2026. We had duly advertised this position, and we received one letter, and that is from Matthew
Lewin.
Lewin.
I'll make the motion we appoint Matthew Bluen.
And I second it.
Okay, that's by Haines and Fuller.
Bowler, right?
Yes. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
You are welcome.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming forth to help. So next we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
Can I backtrack to this?
Get the,
Oh, we have the,
skip the.
we gotta appoint the alternate Dave.
Oh, I am sorry. Motion to appoint David Powers as an alternate to the Rutland Regional Planning Commission.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And was there any discussion at the planning commission meeting about the transportation?
The only thing on that agenda was the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. The transportation was not on it.
Can't hear you.
This is Greg. What I said was at the Planning Commission, the only item on it was the alternate to the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. The Transportation Advisory Commission was not on it.
Okay, people are supposed to be muted at this point. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to appoint David Powers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now the treasurer's report.
Okay, so, a couple of things. As you know, and we've already discussed, the Posi Pay system through the bank required that after I did checks, I went in and hand entered them, every single one, and there have been boo-boos. I lifted that to alleviate the stress because it's like a fifth level of security that at this time is only causing stress. The whole bundle that got rejected, I have emails from the bank that they had lifted it, so I did not enter them. That entire bundle still went through the process and they all got returned because they weren't entered into the Posi Pay. That's been corrected, which was not fun. The week of this check was the week where all those checks came back. At a glance, I think Matt might be right. However, there was a whole heap of them and I made a mistake, but you also signed off on them and then Lana looked at them today, which is not fun, which is why we do need 3 auditors, because help would be extra sets of eyes. So yes, is the actual boo-boo me? Correct. Could it have been caught after twice? Yes. It doesn't fix it, doesn't change it, but that's where that is. Otherwise, everything else is moving along. Nimrick was here today. I had a few hours with her, which were great, and hopefully we catch up.
But when you say I signed off on it,
You signed the checks,
I
but
signed checks.
correct.
And what I look at is time cards, amounts on the check. I have no idea what goes on in your computer.
Well, yes, except that I had a whole list of voided checks.
Excuse me one moment.
No, go ahead.
I have also been told that I might in fact be liable for your mistakes, and I have sought legal counsel on that, and I am not, so please don't.
No, I'm not saying that by any means. However, when I reissued checks, there's a whole, in that same bundle, the voided checks to go with. And what I'm saying is, this was a giant, stressful nonsense. And I just wish, if nothing else, I don't know, that it didn't happen, I guess. And here we are.
So hopefully we now have this behind.
The whole Posi Pay thing is done, and that makes for a whole smoother, because I can't.
So I guess my question on that, we're not using Posi Pay?
We're not, okay, so do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's
Thank
a
you.
dual,
It's a dual.
Yeah.
But we already have dual signers. Our checks are printed off, not in a hand checkbook. They're locked away, they're not. I lifted it because it has been, as I'm stressing through all these things, as simple as a number transpose that they get sent away if I miss the timeline to check. It has just been stressful. So we also don't have set up, and I've asked twice through Nimrick via email and the bank to set up the electronic way where you send a file. I don't know if you use that. as opposed to hand entering.
But I guess my only concern is, our security now is being vulnerable more than with the dual.
No, not necessarily, because we're still only having, the checks are still going through NIMRIC only, and the bank said it was an optional, and for the moment, it's only causing stress.
How long has that Posi Pay been? How long
Since
has it
before
been?
I got here,
Right,
which is why I didn't,
Do you know how long it's been,
I don't.
town's been using it?
I do not.
And it's the dual, in case anyone don't know, it's dual authentication, not
I'm just assuming we put it in place for a reason at the time.
for the security of checks.
That's all, I'm just asking, because if it was
No,
put
and
in place for a reason, and
so when
it
it
was
was-
used and utilized, and now it's
Right.
not,
I think when it was put in is when Jen was treasurer, but I'm not positive of
And I
that.
believe it was put in as a result of the recommendation of the outside auditors that we had.
I think you're right, it was in their report.
well,
So, go ahead.
no, if it's a result of a recommendation from the auditor we hired, wouldn't we want to keep that in place?
I'm not against keeping it or putting it back. It's as simple as a phone call. However, in the meantime, until NIMRIC, it's NIMRIC or the bank have to write the electronic file, and/or I need to catch up and not feel so stressed when I'm typing. There's no in between there. And yeah, that's on me. And if you want it back, I'll put it back. I don't care. It's just, that's where what appears to be a bounce check, all it is, there's been a few where it's 67 cents or 76 cents. It's just a lot.
So, right now, that's not going in the same as the check? When you do the check on the computer,
Yes.
that doesn't go to the file of the Posi Pay at that time?
No, I have to go into the bank, open it, and then put in, I wrote check number blank to so-and-so for the amount of, and the date.
So you're dual entering the same check?
Yes.
That doesn't make sense, so
I
why
agree
that?
with you.
You
That's
should
how
be
it
able to
was
have
when I got
Posi
here.
Pay go, because that, yeah, no, that's,
I agree with you, and it's a lot of the same, and it's time. That's how it was when I got here.
so Jen was dual entering the,
Yes. Or that's how she showed me, and there is no file created.
yeah, I would think you would, when you print your checks, you
Okay.
export that same,
There is an option.
and then the bank gets that, and then there's no,
When I asked NIMRIC to begin with, it was twice. They referred me back to the bank because the bank has to write it. They don't have, M&T as one of theirs that they already have the export the code, the way the computer does it. And
You need
I
to
just,
speak up a little bit more. Nobody's hearing. Just,
I also,
This needs to be in the center of the floor where it normally goes. Rick's got a chair. So people listening, we just move the microphone? Does that help any?
someone's waving Metza. Beth is. Thank you.
so I did put in a ticket to have the bank do the file. They're all, it's all
She can't
email.
hear- She can't hear you. Beth Thompson.
Does this work?
no, that's wrong, Mike.
Oh, that's his mic. It's probably,
Reach. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, try again.
Try again. Is this better?
Thumbs up.
So I did put in a ticket with the bank. It's all email, documented, not once but twice, and did not get, and it just got to the point where for the moment, I can't, it's a lot of again and again, and it leaves room for nonsense. I'm not against putting it back. If you want it back, I'll put it back.
Well, I guess I think.
I was unaware that it was
The dual
recommended.
authentication is the way to go, but I think it should be done single entry.
I agree.
I mean, to do dual entry on the same thing is asking for mistakes. I don't care who you are. So I guess I'm not aware of that system and how it's not being able to be exported to the bank.
No, I agree with you.
So I'm thinking the Posi Pay should be in place, but I think that it should be
That,
a little more efficient, let's say, than the way it's operating, because that obviously has been the culprit of a lot
stressful.
of your issues.
yes. So, okay, so then I guess, may I reach out to the bank and/or I'll copy the rest of you with it, the email asking for the code to be set in place to put it back, but with the export option. Does that make sense?
I would think that's the way to go.
Okay.
That is your decision. I mean, we're giving you recommendations.
I'm not trying to be, I was just trying to get this it's stressful.
Right.
So yeah, no, I'm not against that at all.
Well, my only concern is, and I mean, we do have a substantial amount of money in the accounts.
Correct.
And to get lax and say, well, we took it out because we were having trouble with it is an opening for somebody who's
it is
able to actually, I mean.
The ACH monitor is still in play. And if you don't know, that is, so when you pay your credit card bill online or pay something online, it has to have an approval, a prior approval in the system. So there's no, you bought $1,000 at Taco Bell in China, kind of things that can go electronically. So those are all still covered. It's just the checks for the moment because of the redundancy and the room for stress.
Right.
But I have none whatsoever. I just need it to not be the same thing, the double entry. Because as I'm trying to catch up, I'm spending double the time doing the same check.
Right, and I can see the transposing being a major issue.
It's simple.
Yep.
So, can we move forward?
All I have for questions or comments,
I think it should be put back on.
Okay. I'm not against that, and I will copy you to the ticket so you can watch the speed at which they respond to me.
So, I have recently received a number of very concerning letters.
Okay.
The first one is from the auditors. And it says that the first month after you became treasurer, all of the workers' checks bounced except for yours.
That was...
Okay,
Well, can we go line by line, because it's a lot.
Okay.
Okay, so that was my first experience with Posi Pay. And mine hit first because I do mobile deposit. It came through. I had entered, not at the right time. I approved mine because I thought mine came up by itself because I was a new person, not for any other reason. Then I realized, as you know, oh no. And it was the whole that was my first experience with I hate Posi Pay. So there was that, and yes, it does look, but mine came through in its own separate, and my assumption was I was new. I really didn't understand how the Posi Pay system worked at that time.
And before I even go any farther, I want to say this is by no means an attack on you.
No, go ahead,
These
because
are-
I did read it, and I have.
These are issues that have come up that we
Yes.
need to address and hopefully get behind us and move
That's
forward,
fine.
that we have a positive working atmosphere and a positive reputation for the town. So she goes on to say that they had 2 checks paid that you said never left the office. My bill that I left on January 12th got sent on February 18th. I got it on the 20th. 6 deposit slips were wrong, some too much, some not enough. Some checks were reversed in figures, which you just spoke about.
Yes, and can we pause there? So the deposit things were, when we were doing tax payment entries, in the beginning, so there's 20 per thing. In the beginning, we were adding them by hand. That was not the best way. And again, it was entry. There was nothing off as much as math was. So we stopped using the calculator and allowed the computer per deposit and took those figures. However, there was, which will come up later, one where my assistant entered it to the wrong property and it took a minute to catch up where that belonged.
Bills were not paid on time. Some were months behind, like the light bill. Some checks were paid by the bank. Michelle had them listed as outstanding.
I didn't understand what that meant.
So apparently, the way I'm reading it, the bank on the statement said they had paid the check, but you said it was still outstanding?
I don't really understand, with the exception of when you get to the balance part.
The most complicated was the check that was paid for 3 lands and didn't equal the charge.
That's the one that she put the one onto a different, and we caught it.
Who put it on a different?
Skylar. So it was property 027, and she put it 207, and we did catch it, but it took a minute.
And apparently, as we've discussed, a number of payroll checks have, and I'm going to clarify, did not clear the bank rather than saying bounced. There were
clear
sufficient
the
funds
posi-pay.
in the bank, so when somebody says a check bounced, we think insufficient funds.
Correct.
That was not the case. The auditors have not seen any paperwork for the trust funds.
It's all here, she's never asked. When I read that earlier, after she and I had separated, she's never asked. In the beginning, it's all with the things. In the beginning, it always went with, and they never touched it. So it's just in its file sitting there. Nobody's.
So would it be helpful if you more or less had an agenda?
It would be helpful to know what they want from me, sure, because no one's ever actually said that.
Yeah, because I think that needs...
And I was supposed to have help with the first audit because it wasn't my audit, wasn't my work, and I didn't. So I had nothing to go by, flying by the seat of my pants, because nobody told me what they wanted.
A $75 charge on a checking account. We're now getting a monthly charge on checking accounts. What's all that about?
So the checking account that Jen switched to the new account gives better interest, but there's a $75 service fee every month. However, the interest by far wipes that $75 away.
Okay.
Versus what we used to have.
Okay, so that's good to know.
And I did explain that.
Hours are a problem. Twice, they had set a time to meet with you, and twice you did not attend at that time or came late.
I'm always running late. I can't, I have to just own that. I know,
I think the easiest thing to
Which
do
is
there
why-
is pick up the telephone.
correct. Well, like yesterday, I tried to call her and I couldn't get her. Because she
And
only
this
has
is
a
an
house
issue
phone.
too, because she's old-fashioned in the sense that she
Yes.
doesn't have a cell phone. Last month, she worked by herself, and she, being a party of one instead of three, had to let you go early because you had another commitment, and
It wasn't early, I was done with my commitment here for the day and I had to go to my appointment.
now this I don't understand. Sometimes you only pay part of a bill.
Oh, she doesn't like, so you know how Tom signs off on, Steve signs, Tom signs. If I don't have Tom's signature on, say there's 4 invoices, but the 2 new ones I don't have a signature on, I cannot pay until I do, but I'm still gonna pay the bill. She does not like that.
Well, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
She should only write checks for what you've approved.
I can't,
I would assume I think that's probably the protocol.
it's like, yeah, like Wallingford crushed stone, when, you know, there's constant, or Pike, there've been a few where there's an invoice that hasn't gone past you. I can't pay that until it's been told to pay it. But I pay the majority of the statement or whatever I do have, and she doesn't like that.
And then there's a problem with an outstanding check for Mike Green, who's been deceased for quite a while. It says it's missing figures.
I have no idea what that is, what that's about. I believe there's a date on there that's long before me, and I don't know anything.
Yeah, it must, because she said, Jennifer said it took special attention, and it's over 2 years old.
She's never brought it up to me, and I have no idea.
Okay, well, maybe put that on your list to
Investigate.
get that resolved. And the most concerning thing is that apparently the checkbook has not balanced since July.
Which is what Nimrick was here for today, and I'm just gonna reiterate, first audit in August, Jen was supposed to come, because it was her work to be audited. She didn't. She also, at that time, was going to show me how to do such a thing. I struggled, I had Nimrick come, October, they crashed, she finally came today. We went over it, I got it, and it'll be all cleared up by the time Lana comes back next month.
And I believe this next item we have successfully resolved, and that was that the union dues had not been paid
Correct.
in 6 months, and the head of the union said, after I signed off on, what was that, about $10,000 worth of,
Yes, he and I
Checks.
spoke.
and he said going forward, he needs to have the R-115 forms, which I have seen you do, and the check needs to be on a monthly basis.
Which I knew, and I got so overwhelmed with the tax stuff. I was incredibly overwhelmed. I've said that, and I hate to keep saying it. And every time I think I'm gonna get ahead, something new.
Okay, so what then can you do as far as an assistant or something is concerned to make your life easier?
Well, the posi pay thing was a pain in the ass. More or less, I've changed my hours to be, I'm here more hours quietly, where there's not as many people here. Because it is a little difficult in and out all day. So my hours are bumped. I'm coming in the afternoon and staying till 5. That's helpful. It would also be helpful if the mail wasn't locked in the vault and I have to wait for it to be given to me.
Now, how many hours a week are you working here?
On paper here,
A week here?
9. On paper, However, I'm now coming in on Tuesdays off paper. I don't want company to do other things. But open to the public, 9.
But I guess my question,
How many hours
Michelle,
have I
is
putting in?
you have had a lot of issues of catching up.
Stressing,
In
yes.
my way, when I get behind is I work 20 hours a day until I actually have everything caught up. And
So I probably have 25 hours a week, which doesn't sound like a lot. It just isn't doors open.
so you're actually
Well,
working how long here a week?
Well, I'm here, well, I just switched the schedule too, so that's a little screwy. But I do come in the evenings, and it's hard to say now that everything's changed.
According to your posted hours,
Yep.
you're in the office 7 hours a week.
Oh, I did 9 in my head.
4 on one day, 3 on another.
Yes, but then coming in Tuesdays to do other things. If you want more, I can do more. It's not.
No,
it's not- what I need is time where I'm not being bombarded with phone calls, questions, and interruptions, so I can just focus. It's very hard to do here.
And one of the issues that will be coming up is accessibility, particularly at tax time.
Oh no, that's
get to
I'm
that.
already off the schedule at my other jobs, so I'll be here all week to make sure, because yes, we learned last year that was difficult.
Okay.
I didn't have enough.
And when you say you'll be here all week at tax time,
Every day.
what would you say that is? October 15th to November 15th, or
Something to
what?
that effect, yes. Because I've pulled myself from the schedule at work for November and part of all of November, because then there's the entry of all the keeping. So,
Okay, so then we have a letter from the town clerk, who has also experienced problems during the last 6 months. She has had face-to-face, conversations with you and prefers to have it that way rather than putting things on paper. And the major complaint was tax season. Your hours did not increase to accommodate people who were paying. Colette and I went over and beyond to receive payments and give taxpayers copies of their check. This was not something we felt comfortable doing, particularly when cash payments were offered. The next item was a real jaw dropper, and that was that payroll checks which were not accepted by my bank and were not credited to my account. I have received 2 notices from my bank that deposits of payroll funds are being held for a period of 6 days before I can draw on the funds. I fully understand that you are having some issues outside of the office, and I sympathize with that. I could include here that the loss of my husband and the diagnosis of my own cancer certainly took a toll on me personally. However, I did as much as I possibly could to go forth in good faith. My disappointment was total yesterday when we met with a representative from the retirement company. I expected that you would be present. I had notified you several times about the meeting, and your input would have been very helpful in answering questions that we had about the amounts and the dates. I am hoping that we can rectify these problems and proceed smoothly in the future.
we had a family thing yesterday. It was not. It was a
Okay,
thing.
you don't
It was a
need-
thing.
You don't need to elaborate.
It was a thing.
It was a what?
It was a thing. A family.
Yeah. Okay. And again, my advice would be, please pick up the telephone and tell people. You know, if they don't understand, they don't understand, but you made a good faith effort to say, hey, something's going on here. Colette Yersha, the assistant clerk, was the, we'll say, victim of 7 payroll checks that were returned.
Colette's is the last one I type. And that is not okay. Colette's is the last one that I enter into the posi pay. She's always last. She took it hard. I have no, I'm not blaming posi pay, blaming me, but that's hers, because 2 of them got redone and then rejected. So it just didn't look good. I know. I have apologized profusely.
Yeah, all I can say is that, you know, I hope this posi pay glitch is behind us. And then, of course, there was the problem of payroll deductions taken out for retirement that weren't deposited into the retirement account. And she mentioned the 6 months of union dues.
Those 2 got
behind us. I have a letter from Mr. Garceau, who was sorry to have to write this for the first time in 25 years. A check from the town of Danby did not clear. I don't think we need to.
Is this posi pay again?
It was that whole week. It was the election week. It was like that, all the election pay went out, and it was that posi pay that I thought it was picked up and done, and it wasn't. It all got.
I guess the 7-time thing, that's disturbing.
It is.
Because some people actually rely on that money at the end of the week for some certain things, and even, you know, they say, okay, this week when I get my paycheck, I'm gonna pay my electric bill or something, and when it doesn't clear, I mean, you can be affecting a lot of, and I guess once or twice, I would say, yeah, I really gotta get 7 times.
Colette's got, she deposited them all. No, not all together. There was the 2, I can pull back.
But it's 7
yes,
times still that you did it. I mean, after twice, should you not have really focused on this and said, I'm screwing this up, I have to come up with something?
Yes. 100%.
And then the next ones, I'm going to encourage you, as past treasurers have done, to have accounts payable every week.
I have been trying. It has not been.
Because
it's usually every other, but what do you got?
We had a complaint from Sheriff David Fox that 3 invoices for 3 months totaling $6,199.97 were not paid.
Not paid or not paid timely? They're paid now is my question.
Well, they have been paid
Okay,
now, yes, but, you know, if I submit a bill,
No,
I expect it to be paid that month. And then we have had 3 disconnect notices from Green Mountain Power. We have had late fees from Lawson for work that have been apparently done on some of our
parts, bolts, fasteners.
And Troy Minerals. So I'm thinking that if we make a very diligent effort to...
I think you'll find that in those areas, they are all coming better, and I think the sheriff's ones were back September or October, November.
Yeah, it was dated January 7th, I think.
which was all during,
January 7th that he brought this to my attention, thinking that maybe they were sending the bills to the wrong address or something.
which that was tax time and when everything hit the fan.
And speaking of address, now you mentioned about mail being locked in the vault. How can we fix that?
They can put it anywhere but locked in the vault. I don't have access to the vault.
You have access to the safe?
I don't have access to anything over there.
Now,
Just the room, but not,
if you're in here, I mean, you're not here when they're here?
I am. However, when I've come on like a Saturday, I can't get the mail that was brought in on Friday because it's locked.
But the one day shouldn't change the life.
It shouldn't change, no, but
It should be back
just,
in, say.
why is the mail being locked in the vault?
Well, I think because there could be a lot of sensitive stuff, and if somebody breaks into the building, I think that's,
Okay,
she's
then we
being
need to find
first.
a middle ground that I can access maybe.
Would you feel comfortable with them having a key to your
That would be fine.
safe?
That would be
Why don't we
fine.
do that and ask them to put the mail in there?
That would be okay. It's just stressful. It's just another,
I know, and that's what
yeah.
we're trying to get behind us, that we have a comfortable working atmosphere
That'll be
and a
good.
positive image for the
That
town.
would be good.
So I hope this has been productive.
You know, it's nothing that I didn't know, and it's nothing that I've not worked on, and the tears that I've cried is ridiculous. It's not for lack of trying. It's just, there's been a whole lot of circumstances all rolled into one that were really crappy.
I don't enjoy this either, I'm sure you don't, but my only.
No.
we're-
Not at all.
You know, you're elected, not appointed, you know, so there's certain, but when we look at a lot of this stuff, to me, we have to say something and discuss.
No, I agree with you
It's
100%.
very challenging to the town with what's going on, and it's hard, and we, you know, and I know you say there's a lot of challenges and stress, but you did put your name in to be elected to this
did.
position.
I did. And
And I just want to finish real quick. I mean, like, my job too, like if things are challenging, you gotta reach out to them, know, and you gotta put the time in. And you know, you have to have known what you're getting into when you put yourself in for election, you've already been doing it for a period of time. And I just want to have a comfort level that you're really gonna put the effort in to move this thing forward and take care of some of this stuff, so we're in a better position and people aren't spending a lot of time that shouldn't be spent on this.
I agree with you. And it's not for lack of effort as much as it is one thing after another. But there are things that are clearing as we go, and then it's not for lack of caring or trying or at all.
So do you have an assistant treasurer at this point?
I do. But I've not.
I ask it primarily because it's important to have that backup.
Yes. No, there is backup. There is backup.
Anyone can be incapacitated at any moment.
I agree with you.
Okay. I'm going to put this in a letter, and if we need to revisit it next month, we will, but hopefully by then.
Hopefully, we do not need to revisit it next month.
Right.
Because everything I went through today with Cynthia from Nimerick is a good chunk of, and then the Posi Pay thing, which I will send another email and copy you all to it, asking the bank to set up the code.
And there's another piece that more research needs to be done on as far as.
I'm excited to have
ballot
3.
clerk pay.
Oh,
So we're not taking any action on
Yes, I
that
need-
until I get a chance to review the minutes when they got the raises and so forth.
that-
Because my mind does not recall in detail what happened 2 years ago.
no.
But
And then the other part of that, Cynthia, I have to give to you Cynthia had written up about what we talked about earlier in regards to ballot clerk things.
And that's what I'm saying, we have to research that more. Okay, go ahead.
No, so Brad, I was just saying, so for the letter from the select board, do we have to make a motion for that? For the select board to put a letter?
I think it would be
together?
helpful that it's all
And just,
documented.
to discuss the issues that were brought forward.
Speak up. Some people can't hear Greg, and I'm right next to him, and I have trouble sometimes, so.
What I was asking Brad is, should we make an motion to identify, the problems that were brought forward regarding this, our concerns, the items to help make this better, and that we're gonna look at this and review it at the next meeting? Do we have to make a motion?
I think that would be a good idea.
So I guess I will make a motion that the select board puts together a letter.
Or authorize me to.
Authorize Brad to put together a letter that basically,
A
summarizes.
document, yeah,
Documents the issues that were brought forward, the board's concerns, what, solutions to correct the problems, and to revisit this at the next meeting to see how we're making out.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. So, thank you. I know it's
it's nothing that I've not
a long
talked
road
about
and it has
with all
bumps
of
in
you
it.
here and
So
there.
that's where we're gonna leave it and hopefully move forward. Okay, next is to review the draft lease for the Mount Tabor transfer station. And I was informed by, or why don't you put it right up here? Maybe that'll be better. I don't know. No, that's. I was informed by the chair of the Mount Tabor Select Board that our dealings with them have come to a standstill at the moment, and they are now considering putting the whole issue of joining with us to a town vote. So I don't think
So there's no reason to discuss it.
right, I don't think it behooves us to discuss it at this time unless there is a feeling by the select board that perhaps we want to move in a different direction, because it seems like this can is just getting kicked farther down the road and we're not accomplishing
Well, I think
what
we had
need to
made
do here.
a backup plan, let's say when we purchased the land for the fire department and for us, or for the fire department to use, it's still the town's property. With the thought of that, I don't think this meeting's, we have to jump right on it. I mean, we've made a pretty good effort here, and I thought Danby and Mount Tabor both worked in good faith to try to put a project together. There was a lot of concerns that were brought up at the meeting, and I think we still had a lot of concerns that we hadn't completely, resolved yet. So, I mean, there's nothing lost by trying, and I think both boards, put a good effort into it, and we can let that back burner. But if you want, in the near future, like next month or something, if we want to discuss a different direction, it's worth at least talking about. It can't hurt to discuss another avenue.
Right, because personally, I would like to see the transfer station in a new location.
Well, I think we
by
all do
October,
for
so
the
that it's
safety,
not
but the problem is, I mean, even with the Mount Tabor event, there was a lot of unanswered questions as far as financially.
Correct.
That we weren't budgeted for, that could have been, a burden on the town that we didn't have and that's the problem is we didn't have in our, what budget are we in, 2025 budget, a $50,000 or whatever number for moving of a thing. So that would have been a hard.
And also, once again, it's a lease, and the improvements we made into that money we put into it aren't guaranteed to the town after the 10-year period, if it is exceeded. So to me, it is worth looking at the other options, that if
Right.
we invest money into it, it's money that we know is gonna.
That we
stay.
own and it's ours, or that we already own. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, no.
Okay, so that's where that's at. Now we'll have the first reading of the proposed Code of Ethics Investigation and Enforcement Ordinance.
Now, can I make a question on that too before you start?
I was gonna let you read it.
Jim reviewed that, and that was the boilerplate one that everybody's adopting.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, everybody ready for this? It's 4 pages. I hope you're all comfortable. Town of Danby, Code of Ethics Investigation and Enforcement Ordinance. Section 1, Authority. This ordinance is adopted by the Town of Danby under the authority of 24 VSA subsection 1997. Section 2, Purpose of this ordinance is to enact procedures for the investigation of complaints that allege a municipal officer has violated Vermont's Municipal Code of Ethics and Enforcement in instances of substantiated complaints, including methods of enforcement and available remedies. Section 3, Definitions. Designated complaint recipient means the municipal officer or body designated to receive complaints alleging violations of the Municipal Code of Ethics. B, Municipal Code of Ethics means the municipal ethics framework in Vermont established by Act 171 of 2024. C, Municipal ethics complaint means a complaint against a municipal officer or officer alleging a violation of the Municipal Code of Ethics. D, Municipal officer or officer means 1, any member of a legislative body of a municipality. 2, any member of a quasi-judicial body or municipality. Or 3, any individual who holds the position of or exercises the function of any of the following positions in or on behalf of the municipality. A, Advisory Budget Committee member. B, Auditor. C, Building Inspector. D, Cemetery Commissioner. E, Chief Administrative Officer. F, Clerk. G, Collector of Delinquent Taxes. H, Department Heads. I, First Constable. J, Lister or Assessor. K, Mayor. L, Moderator. M, Planning Commission member. N, Road Commissioner. O, Town or City Manager. P, Treasurer. Q, Village or Town Trustee. R, Trustee of Public Funds. Or S, Water Commissioner. E, Public body means any board, council, or commission of the municipality, any board, council, or commission of any agency, authority, or instrumentally of the municipality, or committee or subcommittee of any foregoing boards, councils, or commissions. Section 4, Complaints. Any member of the general public may make a municipal ethics complaint, including any person elected, appointed, or employed by the municipality. B, all municipal ethics complaints must be directed to the designated complaint recipient. C, the designated complaint recipient will conduct a prompt, thorough, and impartial investigation of all municipal ethics complaints, and confidentiality will be protected to the extent possible. D, municipal ethics complaints against the designated complaint recipient must be directed to, and we'll put in we have to put in some language. It says insert municipal manager, municipal administrator, or chair of the legislative body as applicable.
So that would be you.
That would be me. So we'll say chair of the select board. No person will be adversely affected in either their volunteer or employment status with the municipality as a result of bringing a municipal ethics complaint. Section 5, enforcement. If the designated complaint recipient or the select board chair as applicable, in the case of a municipal complaint brought against the designated complaint recipient, determines that a violation of the municipal code of ethics has occurred, they will refer the complaint to the legislative body for immediate and appropriate corrective action. Municipal officers who are found to have violated the municipal code of ethics may face the following disciplinary action. A, enforcement against elected officials. In cases in which the municipal officer holds elected office, the legislative body may, in its discretion, take any of the following disciplinary actions against such an elected officer as it deems appropriate. 1. The chair of the legislative body may meet informally with the municipal officer to discuss the municipal code of ethics violation. This will not take place in situations where the chair of the legislative body and the municipal officer together constitute a quorum of the public body. 2. Legislative body may meet to discuss the conduct of the municipal officer. Executive session may be used for such discussion in accordance with 1 VSA subsection 313A4. The municipal officer may request that this meeting occur in public. If appropriate, the legislative body may admonish the offending municipal officer in private. 3. The legislative body may admonish the offending municipal officer at an open meeting and refer this action in the minutes of the meeting. The municipal officer will be given the opportunity to respond to the admonishment. 4. Upon majority vote in an open meeting, the legislative body may request, but not order, that the offending municipal officer resign from their office. B. Enforcement against appointed officials. In cases in which the municipal officer holds appointed office, the legislative body may choose to follow any of the steps articulated in Section 5A. In addition to or in lieu of these steps, the legislative body may choose to remove an appointed municipal officer from office subject to state law. C. Enforcement against employees. In cases in which the municipal officer is also an employee of the municipality, the chairman of the select board may take disciplinary action up to and including termination in accordance with the municipality's personnel policy. 6. Appeals. A decision of the legislative body may be reviewed by the Vermont Superior Court pursuant to Rule 75 of the Vermont Rules of Civil Procedure. An enforcement action may be taken against an employee and that may be appealed in accordance with the municipality's personnel policy. Section 7, Other Laws. This ordinance is in addition to all other ordinances of the municipality and all applicable laws of the state of Vermont. All ordinances or parts of ordinances, resolutions, regulations, policies, or other documents inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent of such inconsistency. Section 8, Serviceability. If any section of this ordinance is held by a court of competent jurisdiction to be invalid, such finding will not invalidate any other part of this ordinance. If any statute referred to in this ordinance is amended, this ordinance will be deemed to refer to such amended statute. And section 9, effective date. This ordinance will become effective 60 days after the adoption by the legislative body. If a petition is filed under 24 VSA subsection 1973, that statute will govern the taking effect of this ordinance. And that is the first reading, and then that would be adopted 60 days from now. So, do we have any hands up for comments on what I've just read?
We do not. Anybody virtual have any questions, comments? We have Annette Smith, sorry.
Yes, Annette?
Yes, where did you get that document?
Vermont League of Cities and Towns Model Ethics Investigation and Enforcement Ordinance.
Okay, I was trying to find it online. There's a document called Municipal Code of Ethics that the Ethics Commission has posted, but it's not what we read. So
You had Jim review that, correct?
can you make that document available to us as part of the minutes?
No, we're not gonna type the whole thing in the minutes, but if you wish to have a copy of it, we'd be more than happy to send it to you.
Yeah, I'd like to see it because it's very hard to, I mean,
Yeah.
I just thought I could find it online and read it, and yes, please send me a copy of it. Thank you.
Will do. Make a note of that, give me a second. Any other comments?
Yes, we have another hand up. We have, I didn't see who was first, so ladies first. We have Beth Thompson.
Yes, Beth?
I guess I'd like to see a copy of it also. Very hard to take that in because it's complicated when it's being read to you. It's the kind of thing that would have been great provided in advance.
Well, let me just say that the agenda's posted, so all of this information that we're discussing, if people have questions, I believe it's their obligation to request the information, and we'll be more than happy to provide it to you.
So wait, but what do you mean by that, Brad? Request a copy of the document?
Yeah, when the agenda comes out, and that's usually Monday on Front Porch Forum, if there's something that you're interested in seeing in greater detail, all you need to do is send an email or pick up the phone and we'll be happy to send it to you.
Send it to me online?
However you wish.
Okay, because I would think it would be just as easy to make a link available on the town website so that anybody who is interested could just click on it and not have to go through that process.
Do you think the select board is gonna do that, Beth, or?
Well, when you put up is it a document that, if it came from the League of Cities and Towns, is it a prefab document that they have on a website?
Yeah.
So why not give a link to that right at the get-go? So much more convenient for everybody.
You gotta get an IT department.
Yeah, you know, I get the feeling I'm
Well, it's
being...
just, the thing is, Brad, if I didn't happen to look at Front Porch Forum on Monday, and then I'm working on Tuesday and Wednesday, then Thursday comes around, I look at the agenda and that's too late to get in touch with anybody about sending me something. I don't know. It just depends on how actually accessible you want to be and how participatory you want us to be. And I really keep feeling like you don't want us to participate, but I'm going to stop talking now before I get irritated again. So, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We also have Gary.
Gary?
Brad, thank you. And Tom, this is what I was saying last month. You're correct that this is the procedure for investigating and enforcing the ordinance. And the way the item was warned last month is that this document would have become the code of ethics for the town. So you rightly have treated this as what it is, the investigation and enforcement ordinance. And the next item up, I'm assuming, is going to be a discussion of the code of ethics for the state of Vermont.
Is that what you have next on your?
The code of ethics is this is Greg, the code of ethics is what we have to post.
Right.
It's a document that the state put out, the Ethics Commission, and we have to post that onto the website with the whistleblower form also.
And you have to post the investigation procedures. You're right, you have to post.
Yes, once they're adopted.
Once they're adopted, you have to have the investigation, you have the ethics, and I think the whistleblower as well too.
Right, but my understanding, Gary, is you don't have to adopt the code of ethics or the whistleblower, they just need to be posted as the commission set forth.
You're correct. I mean, you don't, I don't, seeing this as damning the town, but you don't have a choice to accept the municipal code of ethics. All the towns in Vermont have to accept the new Vermont municipal code of ethics. So
yes.
It is what it is, so.
Right.
That to be posted along with once the ordinance that you just read is adopted, be posted as well too on the website.
Correct. And I don't, unless somebody else feels differently, I don't see any reason why we have to consider this next item. It's just, as Greg said, posting it.
Yeah, and it's the same everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it replaces the
exact, yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Okay, so that's the first reading. Okay, I will entertain a motion to enter executive session for a personnel matter.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record note that we went into executive session at 8:43. Reflect that we are back in session at 8:40. No action is to be taken on the discussion in executive session.
Let's do fleet permits next.
Let's do fleet permits next. How about a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve all of the fleet permits on the agenda.
I'll second that.
I missed this, I'm sorry.
Haines and Heaton.
For the permits.
Yeah,
Thank
to
you.
approve the
Got it.
fleet permits.
Double H. Okay, all those in favor of approving this whole big fat stack of fleet permits, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next, Tom, do you want to discuss retreatment and
So
structures grant?
right now, we have, all our action is on the Timoth Road. We have and it's good, I hadn't seen the clerk yet put this in yet. We're doing from Doug White's up to, in our grant application, up to Craft Hill for our Class 2 retreatment grant. And then just down over Craft Hill, there's a bridge. I don't know what bridge number it is, but it's the one at the bottom of Crafts Hill. And if anyone's been down on it,
Oh, yeah.
you can see that we kind of patched it up a little bit this fall, but there is some significant work that needs to be done to that. So those are the two grants that we're applying for that are part of, which we always called our retreatment and structure grants. They both have the ability for us to get $200,000 on each of them. I'm not sure where we are in line because it's kind of a rotational line how you get your grants. I mean, the last grant we got was when we did the Parish Hill Road. That was all under grant. So hopefully we're almost in line. And it's one of them things that there's no real formula for it, so I can't guarantee, but those are the areas that we are applying for. Hopefully we get them. The center line striping, that's all that is saying that they're still planning on doing their center line. It's on our class 2s for us. What about it?
I don't know, that's what she highlighted.
Yeah. The, it's just the striping. There's nothing there that is, and then you got the bridge standards and stuff you want to sign?
If you authorize it,
Well,
make a motion.
It's the town authorizing that we meet the bridge standards.
While we're
Yeah, and then I guess the last thing that was on there was the discuss Timoth Road Bridge, but I think that was,
we gotta do this financial plan.
yeah, no, we have to sign a few documents there, but the Timoth Road Bridge that Brad had on the agenda is the one that we're applying for the Class 2 Structures grant on. So, as I said, hopefully we receive some money because that would be good to
When do you usually hear about the grants?
mid-May. Let's see, it's due mid-April, and I don't know. I would say, see, the problem is they can't officially tell you until the legislature actually passes a budget and the governor signs it. So that money is all fictitious until there's a budget. So sometimes those get dragged out until June if they don't have a budget until June.
If we don't get the grants, are we doing anything on the Timoth Road?
Yes, we are gonna do that project anyways. Well, close to that much if we don't. If we get the grant, we were gonna be able to do a little bit more, basically. But yeah, Steve's doing culverts on Timoth Road, starting just as soon as the weather turns, right? You got ditching and culvert stuff.
We are gonna start that project as soon as we start, or as soon as we finish the project on Otis Road so that we have a detour set up. Because when we start digging the culverts on the Timoth Road, we wanna be able to shut the road down for a couple hours during the day, so we wanna have detour fixed first.
Does that come out by your house? Does that come out by your?
Yeah, it's gonna go out Hoisington Cross Road, down Otis Road, and then out Fisk Road. And then, of course, if anybody that lives around here doesn't wanna go down Fisk Road, they can just keep going out Otis. Yep,
Whatever that is.
out to Pollitt Road.
All of them.
Yep.
All right, that's my report.
Okay, what about your trailer?
Oh, yeah. We need to replace our chloride trailer, and Steve and Larry had a good idea that we'll get an equipment trailer that we can dual purpose. It's a light-duty equipment trailer as opposed to the heavy-duty equipment trailer that we already have to move our excavator on. So this is 14,000 pound GVW?
Yes.
That we can pull with our 550. And it's a 2025 Big Tex 14,000 pound 20-foot deck. With that, we're gonna put our chloride tank on that trailer, and then we can take it off when we're not using it for chloride and dual purpose this trailer. Our old trailer that we've had geez, Dad was here when they set it up, so I'm gonna go back 25 years they've had that?
It's been at least 20.
Yeah. So,
You can use the other trailer for whatever, culverts.
yeah, and that trailer,
Well, that trailer's scrap.
No, the one you wanna buy.
yes,
Oh,
we
yes.
can use it to carry, yeah, they can run and get, yeah, with the 550 and get culverts, they can pick up anything for parts, or, that small stuff. So, yeah, it's gonna be better, because the one that we had previous, the only thing it carried was chloride tank. So if we weren't using it for chloride, it was worthless.
So a motion to,
What are we talking, for money?
It's
That quote,
$6,719.
that quote doesn't have all of their fees added onto it. To register it and whatnot, because I talked with Tanya up to South Royalton.
Well, we don't pay tax, so we don't have to pay registration, or do we pay registration?
I believe we have to pay registration.
The municipalities were exempt. Yeah. So you're saying there'll be registration? fee on
Yes.
there.
so that plus fees.
Yeah, I make a motion that we, buy the big text trailer for $6,719.
Full amount the girl gave me.
And that includes, what is she?
That's tax, title, registration.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're charging. I'm gonna make the motion and we'll just double check that number, or do you want?
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I
say,
just don't wanna go and say a low number to find out that it was over that.
well, right now they're saying that the base trailer, hold on, can I see that still? The base trailer price is $67.19. They're saying it's $69.35.64, and I'm not sure what other charges they're charging us for there, because we're pretty much exempt on a lot of them, so. But the motion is for the $67.19 plus if there is any registration fees or FETs.
And you want a second?
I'm just thinking what I can not to exceed.
Well, it's not gonna exceed the 69.13, but
I'll second it.
Okay, so motion by Fuller, seconded by Haines, to purchase the 2025 Big Tex 14E-20D2A / KRBK trailer.
And I do have prices on 3 other trailers that 2 of them are much higher and one of them is far enough away that I would not travel to go get.
Yeah, and I think the thing is this trailer dealer is right in Clarendon. So it's good, quick spot to go get service or parts or issues, so. And it's good to support a local company than to go to 800 miles away.
Yeah. Any other discussion?
So, just to let the select board know, Anita Smith has her hand up.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of purchasing the trailer, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have no old business. I just have a question. What are we supposed to do with this? Was that Jim's
That's,
file?
yeah, but Chad got back to me on, that's part of the Class 2 paving grant. They have to put together a quote for us that we put in with that grant.
Okay.
So that's nothing other than Patrick gave us a idea of what they thought it needed.
Okay, we have no old business. Greg, you are up next for a report on the regional select board get-together?
Yeah, so last night it was in Castleton. It was a select board meetup put on by the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. And, 12 out of the 27 Rutland towns were present, select board members. I thought it was pretty interesting. The main topic was shared services. As you guys know, the towns face the same problems. So the big topic last night was shared services, because the town's trying to figure a way to stop, the bleeding from everything being so expensive, from trucks, graders, for everything. So certain, discussions, certain towns have entered into agreements on especially like specialty equipment, like say roadside mowers. Mendon, Pittsford signed an agreement. They bought it together. For them it works, 60-40, they rotate. One town gets it early in the spring one year, next year the other town gets whatever. Other towns, this is not in Rutland County, but there's some towns, northern Vermont, sharing a crack sealer, asphalt, and they share it. A lot of discussion on that.
Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Yes. Okay. The towns, we're talking different agreements they've made. Mendon, Pittsford had a written agreement, roadside mower, they split the cost, but they share it each year. Some other towns up north did it with an asphalt, the crack sealer, because those are special equipment you use them for a certain period of time, that's it, they sit. A lot of discussion on that. Then it was moved on to discussions about like administrative help, because all the towns, especially the towns that don't have town administrators, they're talking how much paperwork's going through, all these grants, the different things coming down from the state. The Rutland Regional Planning Commission is looking at the idea of like them having a town administrator that they hire, that towns can share the cost of if they so choose for a certain period of time to help with grant writing and different things. It's just things they're trying to do and come up with to help towns deal with the stuff that's coming down from the state. Another topic was reappraisals. Every town's facing this whole reappraisal stuff, the expense of it, what towns are experiencing. That's going to come up in more detail at another event. These are quarterly events. They bring up certain topics, depending on what the group wants, what the different towns want to focus on. They had a brief discussion on Act 181, which is like the Act 250 piece, which is going to have an impact on every town. We didn't get into that much due to time. Next week there's training. They encourage you can do it online or attend in person. They encourage it because it's going to even, there's certain pieces that affect towns with water, sewer, and zoning, but the other pieces of this Act 181 will impact towns like Danby that don't have it. So they're really encouraging everybody to come up to speed on that. And like usual with the state, when they pass a law, there's other parts to this law they still are figuring out, which is part of what Annette mentioned, this land use map and different things. The state's still working on that. That'll be rolled out to select boards. And there was questions on the ethics, because everybody's going through the same thing of adopting these ethics that the state put forward. Some towns are already dealing with ethics complaints, and apparently it's very confusing and very time consuming, so that's going to be another topic for these meetings. The next meeting will be, they said, sometime July, August. We did mention April 30th is a road foreman's meeting put on by the Rutland Regional Planning Commission at the West Rutland Town Hall at noon, but it's primarily focused on towns that have railroad crossings and how to deal with those. So I'm not sure that that's going to be one that Steve
Perfect, we
wants
don't
to
need
clear
it.
his calendar for, but they are trying to do things. So that's that, a quick, dirty
Thank you.
questions. Let me know.
Good, thank you. Any other new business?
Not for me.
No, and we promised Annette there wouldn't be, so. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.